Every time I start one of these videos, I always say, well, hopefully this is going to be a very short video. Wherever it is, I apologise. Hopefully this one will be. Culture context. Just looking at questions and sample responses and trying to get you to think. This time we're going to look at a part B to an A-B structured question. It's from 2020. And of course, the crucial thing is that it has the word compare. Don't forget, the word compare does not feature in the part A, but it does feature in the part B. Part A, you're only writing about one text. Part B, you have to compare. That's part of what you're being examined on. And by the way, something to be aware of. While the part A is worth 30 marks and the part B is worth 40 marks, the extra 10 marks aren't because you have to write more points in part B. It's because you have to compare two texts in part B. So I always think 3 points in part A, 3 points in part B. That's loads. Part B will necessarily be a longer answer because you're comparing. Okay, so that's good. So let's have a look. Compare the extent to which social division is evident in each of the two comparative texts that you've studied. Develop your response with reference to the aspect or aspects of cultural context that you believe contribute to the level of social division. You may refer to the same or different aspects. Really nice question. You'll find as the year goes on, I'm not a big fan of cultural context as a mode, not because I don't find it interesting. I actually find it really interesting. It's because the questions can be tricky sons of bitches. That was a gorgeous question. I love the fact that the question gave you the option to write about more than 1 point. Always look out for that. If even in personal essays you see this, if that S is there, that makes it a nice question because you don't have to then write just on one thing all the way through the essay. That can be difficult to sustain. If it gives you the plural option, then you can make 2, 3, even 4 points across your essay. So you're never having to write for too long about 1 point, and it makes it easier to put the essay together. That's my opinion. I'm allowed to have it. So we're going to look at part B. Let's have a quick look at the sample that I've written for part B. This is in your paper 2 notes books. And here we have the sample. So don't forget, you have to give the information. You can do it in a little paragraph, a little 2 or 3 sentences, or you can do it in the list form. I've done it in the list form here. I like that. So you give the names of your texts. You give the abbreviation you intend to use, the genre, and the authors, or in this case, a director. Make sure you have that stuff absolutely down pat. Then you write your paragraph. Here I've written 190 words, which I think is a good length paragraph. Usually with comparative, it takes a bit longer to develop out a point across 2 texts. And that's why I like the A-B paragraph structure. I've done this in 190 words. Let's see if it's up to muster, if it's good enough. Remember, when I'm writing these paragraphs, I always try to follow my Rick rules. What's my topic sentence? I need to make sure the examiner understands that I'm making a relevant point. What's the information I'm going to refer to support my point? Do I have that information ready before I start writing? Write slowly to make sure it's nice and clear, and contextualize, explain the points. You'll see in this paragraph that I haven't contextualized a lot at the end. I've done a kind of, I've integrated the evidence with the context. So you can see I'm discussing the social division as a result of the topic of the paragraph throughout rather than just at the end. You'll see it in a second. So remember Rick rule. So here we have, I'm not writing an opening paragraph, but I have an opening sentence which refers to the question. Both TSR and TC depict divided societies. The reason I didn't highlight both is because I want to make sure that you understand to use your comparative vocabulary. So I'm making that a different color. And if you look through this paragraph, you have both, you have and, you have is reminiscent of, and you have as in. And what you've got equally. So throughout, you're writing in what is called the comparative spirit. And that is crucial. You need to integrate your text together when you're writing a comparative essay if you want to aim for top grades. So both TSR and TC depict divided societies. I like the fact that that's question facing. You're on division. That's allowed. You're allowed to use the iteration or the key word in the question. You can use synonyms, but it's nice to be in the opening to be just explicitly on the question. So that's my kind of little introduction, right? I'm writing in a comparative spirit. I'm saying yes, they both are divided. So now I have to introduce my point. What's the point in this paragraph? And here's my topic sentence in this paragraph. What color will we go for? We go for green. At the heart of that division, in the Shawshank Penitentiary and in 17th century Salem is a deep-rooted power imbalance. So I'm going to show in each of these texts there are people who are powerful and people who are vulnerable, and that leads to division. Okay, so it's a very easy point to make. So as an examiner, I'm going, okay, that's relevant. Okay, show me. So now go to remember your steps, writing these paragraphs: topic sentence, then example text 1, comparative link phrase, example text 2, and context either at the end or throughout. Doesn't make any difference once there's some context there. So deep-rooted power imbalance that leads to extraordinary suffering. So here's text 1. Shawshank is a place where the weak and vulnerable are treated with brutality. So, okay, you've said it, prove it. This is portrayed when on Andy's first night in prison, Captain Hadley beats the helpless fat ass, that's what he's known as, to death. So look at all those little details. There's no quote, but it's clear you know your movie. You're given details from the movie. This shocking violence against the powerless is reminiscent of TC. So you've given your example, and instead of going and teasing that out, you've gone immediately into your comparison. And now you're on to text 2. And text 2, you deal with a little bit more detail because you're using a quote. This play depicts less visceral but equally shocking exercise of repressive power. Here, religion is a formative factor in society, and instead of unifying the people, it divides them. So you see, you're on the question. So, okay, you've made that point. Now, prove it. Give me an example. Abigail Williams' decision to use accusations of witchcraft. I'm just going to show you all the little details that are here. So you have the name of the character. You have the key element in the text, witchcraft. To escape punishment has the effect of tearing the community apart. Again, you're on the question clearly. Ezekiel Cheever, again, detail. Impress me by your detailed knowledge of your text. Describes the impact of the arrest when he tells the judge, and witch trials to Judge Danforth, thus, there are orphans wandering from house to house, abandoned cattle bellow on the high roads, the stink of rotten crops hangs everywhere, and no man knows when the harlot's cry will end his life. Now, there's a quote that shows social division. It's a great quote. Now, you can imagine an examiner reading that going, wow, this candidate is really well prepared. That's a point very well made. So you've got in one text, you've got just the key moment, the guy being beaten because he's a prisoner and the other fella is a prison officer. In the second text, you've got the imbalance where Abigail is able to exploit the religion in the society to make herself powerful. This leads to social division. So here, as in SR, power is exercised in a way which leads to social division and to terrible suffering. Now, if I'm marking that, I am delighted with you. It's a clear paragraph. It's question-facing. It's evidence-based. There are no basic errors. I'm probably going to give you a H2. And you're going to be really annoyed with me saying, Paul, come on, give me a break. Surely that's a H1. Ask yourself, why is it not quite the H1? Ask yourself, what could be done to make that paragraph a bit better? It's 190 words. What could you add in? You could add in 2 or 3 more sentences where you explain a bit why that is an example of social division. There's a little bit more context required there. And that's why maybe the smart move would have been to split the paragraph into A-B structure. It's still very strong quality answering. Hopefully, it helps you when you're thinking about writing your own essays as the year goes on.